I don't even know. This is so weird. Do I tell them where I've been? This is awkward. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Michelle. Welcome back to my channel, Dolce Mimi. It has been 3 years. It has been 3 years since I uploaded a video. Appreciate all my followers that are still there from the very beginning. Y'all are really holding it down. I appreciate the new followers that have followed me from Instagram. For those of you that are following me on Instagram, you know that I am in medical school. That has taken up the bulk of the past 3 years. I have been MIA on YouTube, but I've been very active on Instagram. So if you're not following me right now, stop what you're doing, mosey on over to Instagram and follow at Dolce Mimi _, and we just have a good old time over there. Pero YouTube, I promise you, things is gonna be different in 2020. I'm in quarantine. I ain't got nothing else to do. Well, I'm supposed to be studying, but I thought that I would do this video first and then study. We're not getting into that, okay? No judgment zone. Because of this quarantine, I've decided to just pick up YouTube again and make some videos about some of the most common questions that I get in terms of med school. A little bit of a series. It's gonna be tips and tricks with student Dr. Mimi. Our first video today will be on studying and how I studied through my first 2 years. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure that you turn on the notifications so that you know when I post another tips and tricks with student Dr. Mimi. And let's just get started. I get so many questions on my Instagram asking how to study, how do I stay focused. This video is going to give a detailed account on how I studied in the past 2 years. I want to emphasize how I, as in Michelle, as in Dolce Mimi, as in Mimi, whatever you want to call me. Things may not work for you. Things may not work for Joe. Things may work for Betty, may not work for Eric. Okay, these are things that I thought worked for me. I first want to talk about the summer before med school. I know I get this question all the time.
Michelle, what do I do before the summer before med school? How do I prepare for med school? Blah, 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 blah.
And this is my response, and my response will always be the same. It's gonna be the same, okay? Okay? Listen closely.
Don't do anything.
Nothing. I don't want you to do anything that summer before med school. You're never going to get a real break ever again unless there is a pandemic and you have to stay home, and unless that happens, you're never gonna get a summer break again. If anything, just look up some resources that students commonly use in med school, which there will be another video for that. See what resources are best for you. Other than that, travel, read a book, pick up a new hobby. Because once you start on that med school train, sis, bro, you won't not be able to rest, okay? Okay. One thing I will say for that summer before med school is investing in a couple things that will help you throughout your journey. A couple of the things that I invested in was a brand new computer, because I had a very old, raggedy computer that barely lasted me the years that it did. Upgraded to a MacBook Air. Do you have to go with a MacBook? No. I just wanted to be like everybody else and get a MacBook. I also went ahead and invested in an iPad. Now, this was probably one of the single most, I'm using it right now, single most beneficial investment that I got prior to med school. And I will go into detail as to how it helped me a little bit later, but in med school, there is going to be tons of notes. And although I do like to write everything out, I didn't want to walk around with a whole stack of paper. It's not something that is extremely necessary, so don't think that you have to spend money if you aren't able to. A couple other things that you will probably need to invest in. Number one being your first aid book. First aid is pretty much your Bible of medical school. And this was my holy grail through my dedicated USMLE Step 1 prep. So if you are pre-med school, I would say go on Amazon right now, pick up your first aid, and that will be your first investment towards medical school. Also, some schools don't give you a stethoscope. My school did, but if you don't get a stethoscope from your school, definitely investing in a stethoscope that can last you through your 4 years. Right now, I do have a Littman Cardio 3. So yeah, this is mine, all black, rainbow colored finishing on the bell. And then I just bought this from Amazon too, like a little stethoscope thing. All right, so we finished talking about pre-summer med school. Consensus, don't do nothing. Stop, put down the book. You shouldn't be studying. We're moving right into med school. Day 1. Listen, guys, listen. You're gonna get hit like a ton of bricks. You get hit. There's nothing that can really prepare you for med school and for the workload that you're about to receive. Even though it's a lot of information, there's absolutely no way in the world that you will be able to understand or know all of the information. No matter how much of a gunner you are, you still will not be able to know all the information. That's one of the reasons why there's specialists in medicine. You can't always have just this one person that knows everything about medicine, or they won't be as thorough. Keep that in mind. Yes, you do need to know a lot of information. However, don't be bogged down by super detailed things because it's just impossible to know everything. I want to talk about how to tackle your lectures and how to tackle your notes and how to tackle studying. What do you do before lecture? What do you do during lecture? And what do you do after lecture? And what do you do right before the exam? Before lecture, I did this thing called pre-reading. Pre-reading pretty much means that you pre-read. Whatever the lecture content is, you can briefly skim through it very, very fast, or you can watch a video, a very brief video talking about the subject that you will be going into for lecture. And I usually did that either the night before our lecture or the morning of. Now, pre-reading does not mean that you have to go super, super in depth. It literally is just you skimming things. So your brain is pretty much prepped and primed for whatever lecture will be about. Now, going to lecture. Although some of you may have the opportunity to stay at home and watch lecture, especially now that we kind of have to, let's just say that this pandemic wasn't happening and you were still going to class. When you go to lecture, make sure that you have your slides prepared. And this is kind of where the iPad comes in handy, because I was able to download all of the slides that my professors would give us prior to lecture and put them in my iPad. My favorite app of all time is Notability. It's a note writing app on your iPad. It's like $9.99, I think, in the store, but I mean, it's an investment. It's gonna last you forever. So just invest and get it. And I like it because you can pretty much have like notebooks and you can have subjects and things like that. So now that you're in lecture, I want to really stress the fact that majority of your time during lecture should be spent listening. A lot of the words that your lecturer is talking about are going to be on the slides. Obviously, write down things that you may think are important or that the professor highlights, saying that this is a very important topic. But in general, a lot of your time should be spent listening, making small amount of notes. And a lot of the times, med school lectures are recorded. So if you don't get something, or if you feel like you miss a particular section, just make a note on that slide and say, hey, go back to this part of the lecture and re-listen to this slide. I am so annoyed that they are still freaking blowing and doing the lawn, because they've been doing this since literally 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to record for the people. Get right here, man. I apologize. So after you're done with lecture, now it's your post-read time. What post-read is, it is a deep appreciation for whatever you just reviewed in class. So after class, go ahead, take a break, grab something to eat, kind of decompress. But after about an hour or so, it's go time. Like, we finna get it in. If you are one of my followers from Instagram, you know that my favorite phrase when it comes to studying is stay in the cut. And what I mean by that is gather up your books, gather up your notebooks, gather up your pens, and find yourself in the library, bury your head in your book, and do not leave until you are done. My Nigerian auntie accent came out, but that's sometimes how you gotta talk to these people, talk to these students so y'all can understand. Which brings me to a point. A schedule in medical school for me was very vital. I made sure and wrote down what I needed to get accomplished before the exam, what I needed to get accomplished every week, and what I needed to get accomplished every single day. Being able to check off those to-do lists really helped motivate me. So, when it comes to post-reading, during this time, there's a variety of ways that you can study. You can review the lecture notes just by reading them, really Googling things that you may not understand, watching videos that will help clarify different subjects, reading the book, doing questions, or you can also spend this time creating one-page notes, and that was my favorite thing. So I would give myself about 90 minutes to dedicate to each lecture that I had for that day. And if I had 4 lectures, guess what? What's 90 times 4? Y'all know the math, but I would be there for however long it would take me in order to get through those 4 lectures. I would spend my time looking over the lecture notes, going back, listening to any sections that I may have missed, as well as writing my one-page notes. And my one-page notes were very high-yield topics that just stood out to me that I knew I was either going to get tested on because of what the professor said, or just you'll know when things are really high yield, especially when it's a very broad topic. That probably means that later on down the line, they're going to build on top of that topic. So that means you should probably get that thing down pat. The reason why I say one page is because when you're note taking, sometimes you get carried away in just writing everything. So when you are forcing yourself to put all your notes on one page, it could be one page, it's one page front and back, so 2 pages. You are forcing yourself and limiting the amount of space that you have. It makes you concentrate on the things that are very important. I use those 1 pages down the line so that I can come back very quickly and just review things closer to the exam. So after I'm done with my post read, I usually went to bed and then I just started the process all over again. And it wasn't until the weekend where I reviewed all my content from that week. So during this review on the weekend, not only would I be reviewing my 1-page notes, but I'll also be going through the lecture notes again, sifting through to kind of put details on the broad topics that I had learned from that week. Now, right before the exam, I also want to note that I would take time to literally do a massive review of all the information that I've had. If I had 5 weeks worth of information prior to my exam, I would make sure and allocate 5 days prior to my exam so that I could spend a day on each week. That way, I'm literally seeing the material maybe 3-4 times prior to the exam. In medical school, repetition is massive. It's needed. There's so much information that you can't just think that if you see it once, unless you're freaking a genius, if you see it once, you're going to understand it and you're going to memorize it. No. Now, what I want to go into is when you are sitting down and studying, what happens? How can you focus your mind and really get things done during this time? How can you be productive? I want to say that productivity is a result of your mind. If you come into studying negatively, if you are like, ugh, I don't want to be here, goodness gracious, I have so many other things that I need to do, then guess what? Your session's gonna suck. Although none of us want to be studying, you kind of just have to psych yourself out to think like, oh my God, this stuff is so interesting, like, let's go study. Trust me, it took me a long time to psych my mind out, to kind of just enjoy studying, but there came a time where I actually enjoyed just sitting down in one place with no other distractions around and just getting my work done. So how did I increase my productivity during my study sessions? One, I made sure and set a timer. Whether it was for 45 minutes or for an hour, I just made sure and allotted a good amount of time where I did not have any distractions and I was strictly just looking at my books. How did I do that? It took a lot of willpower and a lot of strength, but putting away your phone, deleting apps, putting yourself on Do Not Disturb is what you have to do. And that requires discipline. And how do you have discipline? I can't teach you that. Discipline comes from within. You have to realize what your end goal is and know that in order to get to that end goal, I have to do things in between to get to my end goal. You can't get to your end goal just by sitting around and twiddling your thumbs. It doesn't work like that. So if you want to be a doctor, you got to get up and work. So set that timer, put your phone away, download apps that literally block your apps, your social media apps. I used the Flip app, and that helped me just shut off Instagram. It helped me shut off all things social media. Throw your phone away. Give your phone to your study mate. Put your phone somewhere in a different room. Leave your phone at home. Just make sure that you are removing distractions from yourself. I would also say reward yourself. Now, after every hour that you're finished, get up, take a break, talk to your friends, look at your phone, maybe go get a treat, something like that, just so that your mind knows that at the end of that hour or at the end of that 45 minutes, you can do something that's fun. Also, make sure that you're incorporating breaks, not only mini breaks after every hour of study session, but also longer breaks to just kind of fill that void of feeling like you're just studying all day. So some of the most common questions that I get in terms of studying is how to stay motivated. And I want to say that not every day are you going to be motivated. There are days where you're going to wake up, you're going to be dragging your feet, you're going to not want to do any of this. You've been there, done that, still have days where I'm dragging my feet. What I would normally do is I would take a nap. I would just step away from all things studying, step away from all things school, take a walk, just for a good chunk of the day, not do anything related to school, because if I were to sit down and study anything during that time where I feel unmotivated, I wouldn't get anything done. Now, if you are feeling unmotivated every single day, you may want to double check your career choice. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but just to kind of be honest with yourself. When you do feel unmotivated, just take a step back, but also use that time to kind of reflect, understand what your why is during that time. And that kind of pushes me. Why did I get into this foolishness called medicine, okay? Sometimes you just be like, yo, why did I decide to do this? Thinking about your end goal. Yes, it sucks, but in order to study, it's an investment. Let's say, for instance, you're a real estate broker or you flip houses or something like that. In order to get your end goal of flipping that house completely to this beautiful, newly constructed building, there are steps that you have to take. So you can't just wake up one day and that house be made beautiful. You literally have to take every day and start something and build something new in order to get to the end goal. And that's the same thing with anything in life. You have to take baby steps in order to get to that main goal. Another thing that I also want to note is the importance of making sure that you're doing questions throughout the time that you're studying. Questions, I know for me back in undergrad, I always thought questions should be saved for right before the exam. You should start incorporating questions day one. Questions will help you review content. Questions will help you be better prepared for the exam. We're pretty much towards the end of the video. Let's recap a little bit. One, I talked about pre-reading, the importance of just previewing information that you're going to see in lecture. Two, I talked about actually going to lecture, actually watching your lectures in order to fully understand things. And also making sure that you're just listening a majority of the time as opposed to writing down every single detail that the professor says. Three, we talked about post-reading, the importance of learning broad topics and then honing in on details later. The importance of incorporating questions inside of these sessions as well. Four, we talked about reviewing on the weekend, where you're reviewing the week's information during the weekend and making sure that you're going into details and such. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. I know this video is probably long. I'm going to really try and cut it down short. I do hope that these tips were helpful. Once again, these are just tips that helped me get through my first 2 years of medical school and get out to the clinical side of medicine. So if you have any questions, just make sure and leave them down below. Make sure that you are subscribed and that notification bell is on. And also make sure that you are following your girl on Instagram at @dolcemimi_. And I know during this time, things can get a little bit weird in terms of studying. Just make sure that you are using your time wisely. I know it sucks studying from home for some of you, but just getting up from your bed, taking a shower during the same times that you normally would be on a regular day that there wasn't a pandemic outside, getting dressed also helps. Just kind of getting your mind into the mindset of school as opposed to just being in your pajamas all day. Making sure that you're studying at a desk is very helpful, and just allotting a time in the day to where it's devoted to just studying. With no further ado, I'm gonna close out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that it was helpful, and just stay tuned for the next round of videos in this series of tips and tricks with student Dr. Mimi. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the love, and until next time, peace.